Hey, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Innu, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. With me on the panel today, joining via Zoom, are Mr. Rinderpaul Danal and Mr. Clay Purvis. Our assessors today is Mr. Eric Gauthier and Amanda Kilborn. And our administrative personnel is Tristan Bredin. My name is Bill Moretsky. I will be chairing this meeting today and chairing the panel. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony, followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all of the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. We'll be hearing item 6 on our docket today. Mr. Bredin, please affirm the assessors and the applicant's testimony.
Madam Assessor, please state your full name. Sorry, you're muted.
Sorry, Amanda Kilborn.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Applicant, please, feel free to come to the table. Please state your full name.
James Lenhart.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Okay, we'll begin then with item 611 Churchill Drive. This is an application for revision of the amount of the assessed value. Ms. Kilborn, you may begin your presentation.
Okay, so this is for 611 Churchill Drive. The roll number is 12000388000. The property is located in the Riverview neighborhood. It's a 1.5 story single family dwelling built in 1948, and it has a detached garage. The lot size is 12,138 square feet with a Red River influence and park influence. The comparable properties are 306 Maplewood Avenue, 293 Bartlett Avenue, 524 Woodlaw Avenue, and 569 Gertrude Avenue. These are all land-only sales. 2 are in the subject's neighborhood, and then 2 are in the McMillan neighborhood just northwest of the subject. The lot sizes range from 5,993 to 6,385 square feet. And there's a corner influence for 524 Wardlaw and a commercial and corner influence for 569 Gertrude Avenue. The comparable properties values range from 277,800 to 367,800. And I did an inspection of this property. So the subject property has structural issues. It's dated, and there are some like land issues in the back, drainage issues in the back. So I did do an inspection of this property, and I did make a recommendation based on this inspection to lower the value to 339. And this brings it down to the low end of these land sales at 339,000 or 2793 a square foot. And I believe that this value is reasonable and should be maintained.
Mr. Lenhart, how do you feel about that recommendation?
Well, I disagree with the recommendation on the premise that it's vacant land.
So you don't accept the recommendation?
Well, no,
Don't need to make any arguments, just whether you agree with it or not.
yeah, I don't agree with it. I think it should be lower.
Okay, then Madam Assessor, you can continue with your presentation.
Oh, that's done right now. I believe that the 339 is a reasonable value and should be kept.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Mr. Lenhart, do you have any questions on the assessor's presentation?
I do have a few questions. The first question is on the properties that you used as comparables. Is it what you're saying today is that these properties sold at these prices with them being vacant land?
Well, they weren't vacant land, but they actually did all have buildings on them that were demolished after purchase. So the buildings were in poor condition. And so I considered these sales relevant with your property having issues with this structural issues and those types of things. So yeah, they were properties that had buildings on them and were demoed after possession.
Would it be safe to say that the owners of those properties, when they're selling those properties, and those properties have a house on them, would it be safe to say that the sellers don't know when their property is being purchased, whether the property is going to be lived in or demolished?
Yeah, I don't know what they would know or not. That would be a conversation with them.
Sure.
Between them.
Would it be also safe to say, or would it be correct to say that there may have also been sales of houses in that area that also had similar problems, but people purchased them and moved into those homes, they didn't demolish them?
It's possible. I don't know. It's possible, yes.
You stated earlier that you had a chance to visit the property that we're talking about today, 611 Churchill Drive.
Mhm.
When you arrived there, what were your general impressions in terms of the vinyl siding and the windows, the condition of the condition of the house as you were viewing it from the street?
The exterior looked better than the interior looked, in my opinion.
Right. Would it be safe to say that some people may form an opinion as to the condition of that house based upon, as you just stated, the look of that property without really doing a close examination of the condition of the property?
Sorry, can you say that again? I didn't.
That's good. Would it be safe to say that other people may form an opinion, like you did about the condition of the property just based upon the exterior view of it without closely looking at the property inside and out.
Yeah, that's possible. Then that would mean the value would be higher than what, like, they would probably think the value would be higher than what I'm recommending, based on the exterior and what you're asking, not lower.
And you had a chance to look both at the exterior and the grounds of the property that was
Mhm.
there and the interior as well?
Yes,
Okay, and did the homeowner point out to you, as you stated, that the backyard was severely sloped towards the center of the yard?
yeah, and I mentioned that there was issues with the land in the back of the yard.
And the homeowner pointed out to you the height that the garage had been built at.
Mhm,
And
yes.
that had been done by the previous owners.
Mhm.
Did the homeowner point out to you the location where the fence had heaved up from the water being in the yard and lifting up on the fence?
Yes,
Okay, and did the homeowner point out to you numerous standing dead trees in the front yard that had to be removed?
yeah,
Okay, and you had a chance to look at the inside of the house. Did the homeowner take you into the basement of the house?
yes.
Okay, and in the basement of the house, did the homeowner point out to you a recent repair that had been made, which was plumbing that had to be rerouted across the ceiling of the house over to another sewer drain?
Mhm.
Okay, what did the homeowner say about that?
You're the homeowner. You were the one that was there with me. This is probably part of your presentation that you want. I already mentioned that there was structural issues, there was issues with the drainage, there was issue with being dated, and that is why I made a recommendation to lower the value. So I'm not really sure what you want me more to say. I made a recommendation based on the inspection that I did.
Yeah,
And
the reasoning for my questioning is I realized you were there, but the people sitting on the board were not there, and it may be helpful to paint a picture for them.
that would be part of your
Describe that.
presentation, I feel, that you can discuss your specific concerns. I've already said that I went there, saw the structural issues, the properties dated, there's some drainage land issues in the back. And based on all of that, I made a recommendation to lower the value.
Yeah, if you can, Mr. Lenhart, if you can focus on what she has brought in her presentation and question her on that basis, and then you can make your own case when it's your turn.
Okay, it just, I'm hearing everything that you're saying. It's just that some of what I may be making as far as my presentation goes, it would be helpful that the assessor was there to see the same thing, and that's the reasoning for the questioning, because the board was not there, but she was there to see these things. So it'd be helpful for the board to know that you're not just taking my word for it, that the assessor also saw those things. That's the reasoning for the questioning.
Yeah, I said I was there and did an inspection, and I did lower it based on what I saw there. We disagree on what the value should be, but I did see that the property needs work. There's structural issues, the property is dated, and there's some drainage land issues in the back of the yard.
Okay,
So I mentioned that, and that is the reason why I brought you down to the low end of my comparable properties.
okay. Also, I would just like to make note to the panel there, the map that was provided by the assessor. I was just wanting to point out how. No,
You have a question for the assessor?
no, that's fine.
Any other questions then?
Well, I would be asking the assessor, you saw the basement floor, correct, how much it had heaved?
Yes,
The homeowner pointed out to you that the house on the one side had dropped and the steps had been pulling away from the house.
yes,
Okay. And the homeowner pointed out to you inside the house that there was numerous and new cracks that had were there on the walls and the plastering.
Yes.
Homeowner pointed out to you the original hardwood floors and how the hardwood floors had separated and heaved in places.
If you want to point these things out to us in your presentation, Mr.
Okay,
Lenhart, you
sure.
do that. Okay.
Sure,
This is
Okay.
questions for the assessor on her presentation. All right.
sure. Okay, no, I don't think that I have any more questions for the assessor then.
Okay. Mr. Purvis, any questions for the assessor?
I don't have any questions, no.
Mr. Donald, do you have any questions?
Just a clarification, so these ones are not vacant lots at all, there's a house on them, on these properties?
The comparable properties,
Yes,
they were bought and then the properties demo permits were taken out. So they were bought on MLS for land value. And then the buildings were demolished or in the process of being demolished.
so the subject property,
And the subject
Yes.
property has a house on it. It's rented out. It's in, I would say like there's issues with it, but it is a house that has someone actually living in it. And it's just that it's in rough shape.
all right, that's the only question I had, thank you very much.
Okay, so your valuation of this property is basically based on the land value. Would that be correct?
That's what I made a recommendation to, even though there is a property there, I've taken the value out of the house. And the value is in the land now. I mean, it's a larger lot than all the comparables and it does have the river influence across the street. So I mean, it's bringing it down to what I brought it down to is more than reasonable in my opinion.
Okay. So you weren't able to find any lots of a similar size?
No, I didn't know. If I would have found a lot in a similar size, it would have been in Wellington Crescent area. So I didn't even look at that. So there was nothing in his neighborhood or a closer neighborhood they were all roughly half the size of his lot.
Okay, so I'm looking at the time adjusted, or sorry, the time adjusted sale price per lot size for your comparables, and they're all like 50. They're ranging from 43 to 50,
Yeah.
43 to 61. You're down at 27.90.
Yeah.
Can you just comment on that?
I mean, it is a lower price per square foot because of the larger lot. But yeah, I brought it down to the very, very low end, which is actually lower than all these by a significant amount based on the price per square foot. But he should be on the lower end price per square foot because of the larger size, but it's still quite a bit lower, which is, to me, is more than a reasonable value.
And as you mentioned again, I'll just ask you to reiterate if you did that all of these comparables had structures on them when they were purchased that
Yes.
needed to be demolished.
Yes,
Correct?
they all did. Yes.
Okay. So we're comparing apples to apples with the
Yes,
subject.
that's what I was trying to do. Yes.
Okay, I have no further questions then.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Lenhart, you can begin your presentation. Do we have a brief here from? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I would take us all down a completely different path regarding this property. And I would tell you that, in fact, there is a house on the property. And taken at its face value, looking at the property from the front street, from the yard, it would be deceiving to say that the property looks quite nice. The reality is like all of these other properties that the assessor has used as comparables, there is a house there and there are people living there. And I went through the neighborhood to have a look at other houses that have sold in the neighborhood. And I put these houses in order of their time adjusted value so that the panel can have an appreciation of kind of some of the sales that have happened in the area. But I would go through some of them and I would suggest to you that probably the correct starting price with the house on there is the amount that the assessor has put on the house of $339,000. And I can show you mixed about halfway in between the houses that I'm going to talk about, it falls right in the middle. So I don't know if you have access to this. I handed it in, but the first house that I would look at is 317 Oakwood Avenue. It's a 1.5 story house built 1941, so roughly the same year. This house time adjusted price would be $243,000, $243,700 from the Riverview neighborhood. Exact same neighborhood that the other houses were used. Next house would be 278 Ashland. This house, a time adjusted price would be $282,700. Again, this house has a larger lot for the neighborhood at 6,397 square feet. It's got a relatively similar sized house, similar sized attributes.
Can I just stop you for a
Sure.
second? Is there another document that you are reading off of besides what we have here?
No, I
We
handed all of
have
these.
assessments here. That's what
Yeah.
I,
Well, this is all from the City of Winnipeg sales book.
okay, so you're just verbally giving us this information right now, is that correct?
It is, I've looked this information up in the City of Winnipeg sales book. It's a public document that's accessible to anybody.
Okay, but we're not looking at the same thing you are right now, is that correct? We have assessments in front of us.
Okay, yeah, I see that at the top of this sheet is listed assessed values, but we're not using those assessed values, no.
Okay, so you're reading off something that we don't have right now. That document that you're reading off of, we don't have. Is that correct?
I guess so, yeah, the
You didn't
values.
submit it? You didn't submit that? No?
Well, it's public access information from the sales book is.
Okay, but what you're reading off of right in front of you, you did not submit that to.
This sheet, yes, I did.
You did? So, okay, Mr. Bredin, why do we not have that document?
From what I can tell right now, the document that you have and the document that's in front of the applicant are the same document. It should say 317 Oakwood Avenue at the top of the first page.
Yes, these are like assess.
Yes, that is what the applicant has in front of them, and that is what they have submitted to the city.
Okay, fair enough. Proceed then.
Okay, yeah, so I just went through looking up some recent sales there, all from Riverview in the Riverview neighborhood. I guess the coding for that is 666, I think it is. And there were numerous houses that I found that had sold recently, everywhere from a range of $243,000 all the way up to, one for $395,000. The time adjusted price, which would bring all of these properties to a consistent sales date would be that, I guess, April 1st, 2023. And I can read through the amounts, but the amount that the assessor has chosen would put this house amongst all of the houses that I have here, right in the middle of that. So if you're to assume that all of these houses that have here today are structurally sound and good condition, you could even throw out the high and the low property if you wanted to. You could randomly choose some properties in this list of properties that were submitted. Say, well,
excuse me, I gotta stop you again, okay?
sure.
Sorry.
Yep,
So all of these that we have in front of us, these assessments, that's the addresses you've looked up sales values for these properties,
correct.
correct?
Yes,
Okay, why don't you go through them one
sure.
at a time and give us
Sure.
the sale price, the time adjusted sale price for these properties.
Okay,
Just
sure.
just do
Yeah,
that
so
for
I'll-
now, okay?
Yeah, that sounds good.
611 Churchill. Start off with that one.
Okay, start with
Oh, sorry,
611.
that's your own place. I'm sorry. 534 McNaughton.
Okay, 534. Not, I put all of these in order of amount, but I can go through them all, sure. So 534 McNaughton was sold in November 2022. It's sold for $345,000. And the time adjusted price on that is lower at $334,300. You know, under the valuation that the assessors put on, 611 Churchill.
One 11 Claire.
Next one is Claire. Yep. Okay, so
Oh, 116 Claire, sorry.
Yeah, 116 Claire, 1,227 square foot house. Built in 1951, 5,991 square foot lot. So quite a large lot. That one sold in August 2022 for $350,000. That price adjusted to the April 1st, 2023 amount, $331,500. So again, below what is the proposed value of 611 Churchill.
You could just give us the time adjusted prices of each one of these.
Okay,
501 Montague.
501 Montague. 501 Montague. Time adjusted price of $349,700. Again, another house on a larger 6,000 square foot lot, 1.5 story, built basically, a year off of the property on Churchill. Nearly the same size, same features.
Right, 319 Montgomery sales adjusted price.
319 Montgomery, so the time adjusted price of $342,400.
289 Churchill.
289 Churchill, $372,000 for a time adjusted price. And that one sold in February 2023, so that would be a pretty accurate price. Again, slightly larger house than the subject property, newer in terms of year, large lot, 6,000 square foot lot, Red River influence there, it says at the bottom. That
288 Wavell.
288 Wavell. 288 Wavell, time adjusted price of $380,000. 1,200 square foot house. Built nearly the same time, big lot.
Okay, now you can carry on with your presentation and talk about these properties.
Yeah, and I don't know if you
Thank you,
got the other ones there, Ashland, but they all read the same, and I would tell you that the time adjusted prices of all of them, from the one on Oakwood, which is, very close to the one used by the assessor on Maplewood at $243,700, all the way up to the one on Wable, which is 380,000. If you are to accept, and these are all recent sales, all in the same neighborhood, houses built the same, some of them maybe are updated, some of them are not made necessarily updated. But if you are to accept that most of those houses are structurally sound and updated, that most of those houses don't have the issues and problems that 611 Churchill Drive has, it's not difficult to work backwards. I mean, 611 Churchill Drive, which fits right in the middle of these properties that the assessor has listed at 339 for land value only, I would suggest to you that that's a good starting place for that property with a house on it, comparable to a lot of the other houses that are there in the neighborhood. But you have to work backwards from that number to do the underpinning. In 2012, I got a price to do underpinning and concrete work on the house. The price to do that was $77,000. I got a price back in 2012 to re-pour the entire basement floor. That was $28,000, right? All of the interior finishing, putting a new kitchen in, repairing the hardwood floors, redoing the bathrooms. The problem is that there's been some things that have been done to 611 Churchill Drive, right? Plastering and painting. There's been a recent plumbing fix, so the floor in the basement heaved. The basement floor is quite uneven, and the basement floor heaved, and it damaged a sewer drain pipe. So a brand new sewer line had to be installed running across the ceiling of the basement over to a drain pipe. A new hot water tank is put in, a new furnace is going to be put in here, I hope in the next month. It's had a new garage just before we bought it, right? So there's been things that have been done to update the house, but the problem is that the repairs are expensive, so it's hard to just, come up with the money to do the underpinning and do the concrete work. You have to save up to do that. It is a house that we would like to move into, to update and move into. And there are people that are living there now, right? So it's not like it's not livable. But you have to work backwards from these numbers, adding up the repairs. Any prospective buyer going to that property, if you were to put it up for sale, will add up all of the things that need to be done and subtract them from the price of the house to do those repairs. That's reality, right? Will you find some people that may decide to buy the property and tear it down? I guess it's possible. It's possible that some people may do that. But myself as a homeowner, I feel like I would like to repair it. It's just expensive and it takes time to save for that. Right now, interest rates have gone up, so it's even more expensive now to borrow money to do that work. That's reality. But if you work backwards from, even if you say, well, we'll put Churchill, 611 Churchill Drive with that house on it in the area of $350,000, you know. A high in that neighborhood selling for 280 or 290, you know, 280 time adjusted price, and a low, or 380 and a low of 240, right? And you put this house at, you know, if it's in good condition, selling somewhere in the neighborhood of $350,000 to $360,000, you could possibly get that for it if this work was done, but somebody would walk in there and say, well, you tell them, hey, I just spent $100,000 on this place, and they say, where? You say, well, it's all on the ground. It's repaired sewer lines, a sump pump that was installed, the basement concrete floor has been repoured, foundation has been underpinned, and then you need to start in and doing some, you know, repairs and updating on the kitchen. The kitchen's original, the bathrooms are original, they need to be done. Hiring companies to do that could be quite expensive, but oftentimes a homeowner can do that work and it's much more affordable. So I would present to you a much different argument that there will be people out there that will shop for this house and want to buy it and want to live in it, just like there are people that are there living in it now. Right? And it is worth saving. It does need some expensive repairs. But I think what I would ask the board to consider with the argument that I'm making is I would look more closely. I mean, one of the best examples that you could look at is 289 Churchill Drive, right? The time adjusted price, and that sale happened just only a year ago. A slightly bigger house, slightly newer year and stuff with a, you know, a large lot. A time adjusted price of 272,000. Well, even if you worked backwards from that price, you're still going to be getting Churchill Drive, its valuation. People, prospective buyers walking in to look at the house are going to subtract the repairs that are needed. The valuation of it is going to be below $300,000. In previous years, assessors, even without coming to a hearing in 1 year, a number of years ago, I think back in 2016, the assessors lowered the value to $270,000 and then $288,000. Right, but that it's the house is worth saving, but you could repair till the cows come home. But it won't last unless you address the foundation and the floor and put in a sump pump and repair the sewer lines and stuff like that. So, but the house has had updates to it. We redid the sewer line. There's a new hot water tank that's there. It's a new furnace that's about to be installed, I hope within the next month or two, by the On Time group. There's people that are living there now. And it's been plastered and painted, but just the cracking and the movement just continues to appear. So you put in a brand new kitchen or a brand new bathroom, and it's over time, the house just has its way with it.
Okay, is that your presentation then?
I think so. I would, as I just stated earlier, I would make a completely different argument that there is a house there. There are people living there, and I would suggest to you that if this house was put up for sale at 340, 360, 380, right? That would be a house that's structurally sound, updated. If you listed this house for $375,000, thinking that you're going to get, you know, what the owner at 289 Churchill got, you know, time adjusted price of $372,000, prospective buyers are going to work backwards from that number, and they will quite quickly get below $300,000. Right? You only need to look, you know, not very far to the assessor's comparables on Maplewood and Bartlett, as an example, Bartlett and also, the other one here, Bartlett and Gertrude. You look at the selling prices of those places, if people bought those, and her testimony is that they were bought and demolished, and you're at, $230,000 and $260,000, you're probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $270,000 to $290,000, possibly less, for this property, working backwards. If people are going to do that. But I think that the house is definitely worth saving. The plan long term is for us to move in there, but it does mean saving up some money to do the repairs, but I think it will be well worth it. That is my presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Kilborn, do you have any questions for the applicant on his presentation?
I don't have questions. I just have a comment on the properties that were used as comparables. Is just that he's got a lot that's more than double the size of all of these lots, plus the river influence that needs to be taken into consideration. The location of his property being by the river and being more than double most of these comparables is a reason why land value would be higher than what a lot value would be for those other properties. And that needs to be taken into consideration when looking at those sales too. Those sales, if they were the same size lot and on the river, they would have a higher value also. So, I mean, that's something to consider, is the lot size of his property and being on the river is not being taken into consideration in those sales.
I would like to.
I guess the one on Churchill has it, but it's also half the size of his lot. So other than that, they're all, there's no river influence for the comparables. And that's all that I want to mention on his comparable properties.
I would like to.
Can you phrase that in a form of a question to the applicant?
Do you not feel that the river and the fact that your lot is more than double the size of all these properties has any factor into value? The river being a main one and double, and also the lot size too.
Yeah, I would like to answer to that. On the day that I did meet with the assessor there, that is one of the things that we talked about. If you have the assessor's property map that she used there, and if you have a look at the location of 611 Churchill Drive, it's just the way that the road is shaped. I don't know, is everyone able to look at the map that's there that she has?
Yes, we are.
There's the 4 houses that she has listed on the map. So it's just, I don't know, it's just circumstances, the way that the road is curved, that the houses kind of towards the west, the lot sizes kind of start off small. And because the road curves the way that it does, the lots just progressively get bigger and bigger. So, I mean, I don't know, there's not much that I can do about that to say I'll just cut off part of my lot. That's the first thing that I would mention. Is it's just circumstances that it is the size that it happens to be in that neighborhood because the way that the road is shaped. The other thing that I would suggest is that I do believe the assessor is wrong when she says that all of the other properties that are used don't have Red River influence. If you have a look at that map and you follow...
I said 289 Churchill did. I said that one did.
Right, yeah, but so she is correct there. She had mentioned 289 Churchill, but a lot of the other ones did not. But if you have a look at the map, I can tell you, having been in that area many times, you can see how many of the houses there on Wavell and Montague extend past that. They still are able to see the Red River, and that area is still quite a huge influence for the people living on that area. They're not front and center on Churchill Drive, but from some of those houses, some of their windows are looking right out to the same area that 611 Churchill Drive is looking out at. The other thing that I would say is although the lot is large, I would say to the panel, it's a bit of a blessing, but also a bit of a curse. And here's why. There is a significant amount of landscaping and shaping that would need to be done, and the assessor was there to see this. A significant amount of work that would need to be done to bring that yard up to a point where you don't have the yard flooding. There's 6 standing large trees in the front yard that are dead. And they range anywhere from about $800 to $1,000 a tree to cut down, chip all of the branches, stump grind, haul all the wood away. Like you're looking probably at least, $5,000 to $6,000 to do that work. And replant trees. And the assessor, in fact, even testified to the fact that the fence at the back there is damaged. And that the way that the garage is built for the entire property to be brought up to grade so it properly meets at the garage and stuff, it would be a lot of money. So yes, the assessor is presenting you with the argument that larger lot size should be beneficial. I would present to you the exact opposite argument that because of the large lot size, that's an increased cost for anybody buying that property to remediate it and bring it up to a standard like maybe some of the other properties in the neighborhood where you can actually go out there and have a deck, have a patio. The rear step on that property going into the back door is pulling away at the house. And all of that concrete would have to be removed to drill an underpin. So redoing all of that, lifting the yard, and if you're going to put that much soil on the yard, guaranteed it's going to kill all of the trees. The trees won't be able to handle that. And the garage, the pad is sitting up in the air, probably 8-9 inches up in the air. When you go through the backyard walkway and get to the garage, you're stepping up into the garage floor. I don't want to say a foot, but it's pretty close to it. I should measure it. In addition to that, there's pallets that are there stacked against the garage for when the yard floods, so that you can lay the pallets down and actually walk through the yard. And the assessor saw all of that. They saw right from the rear driveway how the entire property, from the driveway, the neighbors' properties on both sides, all slopes into that property. So yes, it's a larger lot, but it's going to cost over double, I'm assuming, to what any other homeowner might spend in that neighborhood to do the same work.
Okay, any other questions, Ms. Gilmore?
I don't have any questions, no.
Mr. Denal, any questions for the applicant?
No, I don't. Thank you very much.
Mr. Purvis, any questions?
I have a couple. Regarding 289 Churchill, just for clarification, you'd said the adjusted value, I heard 372 and 272.
No, sorry, someone may have misspoke if that was me. So 289 Churchill sold in February 2023 for $375,000. And the time adjusted price on that property would be $372,000.
Okay, and were you able to find the listing for 289 Churchill? Have you seen the interior? Have you ever been in the house?
No, I have not. I don't know how. I'm not a real estate agent. I don't know how I would do that.
Okay, so you're just using the sale values and
Sale values, I couldn't tell you if it's got gold faucets or if the house is gutted on the inside, I don't know.
Sure, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Those are all my questions for you.
Okay, so Mr. Lenhart, based on the arguments you've presented or the perspective that you suggest this property should be looked at, and you've done some research here, I can see. So what have you come up with as a value on that basis for the property?
Well, so if you list that property for sale, which we wouldn't because we want to be there, but if you were to list that property for sale, you know, 340, 360, $380,000, and you're working backwards from that, you know, and buyers will see all of these things. They're going to see the heaped concrete floor in the basement, the plumbing that's running exposed across the thing. The house is tilted. It's just a no-brainer. You'll see all of these things, the lifted floors, the plastering, and everything like that. Just in 2012, I think it was, their Abalone Construction gave me an estimate to do 15 piles in concrete work. And to do that, redo the side step and everything like that was about $77,000 then. To redo the interior basement floor was $28,000. So what they would do there is that they apparently cut all the studs at about the 4-foot mark, smash out the concrete. They put in a new sump pump, drainage, and then re-pour the concrete, new plates, and then they sister in studs there and drywall it back to where it was and stuff. But even just that work doesn't address now bringing the rest of the house up to date. But I'm guessing, no, and even looking just at, you know, like I'm guessing somewhere in the neighborhood of between $260,000 to $280,000. I think, and I think that that's a reasonable argument to make. There will be some people that are looking at that house to buy it and live in it. We want to do the repairs. But working backwards from what that costs to do, and even the assessor on the day that we had a chance to meet, and we talked on the phone and stuff, you know, she agreed it's not in every case that you put that money into the house and you get it back, right? It just doesn't work that way. You know, sometimes you have to just bite the bullet and put the money into the property and stuff to stabilize things, and then look at updating the interior of the house. But that would be my guess if we started that 340, 360, $380,000 mark. We say 611 Churchill Drive's has been a little bit updated and there's no structural issues with it. And that's what it would sell for it as a comparable to some of these other houses. Well, you have to work backwards from that number of 340, 360, $380,000 and say, well, we got to go back to around 280 because just handling a lot of the foundation work and repouring the cement all on the outside doesn't tackle the yard, doesn't tackle the rest of the interior of the house and stuff like that. But to me, it is worth saving. We put a brand new Dove color on the walls and stuff like that. Repainted the entire sanded, plastered, repainted the entire ceiling. Just put in a new hot water tank and spent $1,400 there on the plumbing to redo that, cap the old one and carry the stuff over. And we're going to be putting in a $4,500 furnace. So, you know, the place needs it. You need to put those things in to keep the place going. And it's worth it to do that. But the yard itself, like it's a big yard, but add up what you have to do there, it's gonna be thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for sure.
Okay, and if you just wanted to sell that house right now the way it was, that's what you think you would get for it, between 260, 280,000?
I'm not a real estate agent, so that's hard for me to answer. It's gonna be below 300,000. And other assessors in other years have put it well below $300,000.
Is that what you think you would get for it?
Pardon?
Is that what you think you would get for the house if you put it on the market?
I think that there would be somebody that would want to buy that at that price, knowing that they have to put that work into that property.
Well, yeah, of course there would be somebody who would at the lowest at a price, yeah. But is that what you think you would get for it, or do you think somebody would come along and buy it for another reason? Build on it.
Well, the assessor has made that case, so I think for the most part, and I could be wrong about this, but my argument would be that for the most part, that's the exception, then the rule. There's a very, very, very small segment. There's, I guess, developers out there, but there's a very small segment of the population that can afford to, money is tight to just afford to buy that. It's tight for us to just afford to buy that and to just have your way with it, do whatever it is that you want with it. Most people that are walking in there are walking in there with the view to buy it and live there. We bought it to live there. But I certainly was floored when I was told what it would cost to repair. So have a plan to save up for that, but it's expensive.
Thank you very much then. Thank you very much anything in summation, Ms. Kilborn?
Just based on my sales that I provided, I feel that the 339 is more than supported and more than reasonable. If anything is on the lower end. And that's what I feel should be taken most into consideration. That's everything.
Okay, Mr. Lenhart, anything in summation?
My argument would be that the case that the assessor is presenting is far and away the exception, and we shouldn't be making a ruling based upon the exception to the rule and crossing our fingers that somebody comes along and buys it to do that. I would ask you to consider the more likely case that the majority of the people that would come there to buy that property are looking at it to purchase to live there. But they want to know that they can make the repairs that are necessary to stabilize the house, because any work that we've done, it doesn't last. Like, there's so many new cracks there. It's crazy, right? See where the floor has moved more and stuff. So I would say to you that my argument is more likely for more of the public than the assessor's argument that that's what will happen to the property. I would suggest you is the exception, not the rule, and you should be making a ruling more towards what is more likely than not what could be possible. But it's more likely that property would be, if it went up for sale, would be bought by somebody else who wants to live there. That's why we bought it. And there's value in it. There's value in it right now because there's people living there right now.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your presentations, Ms. Kilborn and Mr. Lenhart.
Yeah. It was very nice to meet her too. It was just a very pleasurable experience all around. So we had a really good chance to walk the property and stuff and look at lots of different things. So it was just excellent all around.
Okay, that
Thank
then
you.
concludes, sorry, I interrupted. You wanted to say something, Ms. Kilburn?
No, I just said thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a very enjoyable process.
Okay, that's good to hear. Okay, that then concludes item number 611 Churchill Drive. And that is, I believe, so number 7 has been withdrawn, correct?
Correct.
So we have heard all the items scheduled and this hearing is now adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. It's very, very enjoyable experience.